Hey everyone, my name is Neil Karski and I'm the CEO of Patient Engine, a seven-figure digital marketing, lead conversion, and coaching agency for high-ticket aesthetics providers. And I would like to personally welcome you to the Aesthetics Millionaires show, where we sit down with industry entrepreneurs to talk about their personal journeys and discuss proven growth strategies. My genuine hope is that through this podcast, we can create more success stories in this industry and help more business owners scale past their competition. Enjoy the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have another special guest on today's episodes of Aesthetics Millionaires show, the famous Heather Zade from Adora Aesthetics Med Spa, and she also has an academy, guys. So she's not only an educator, but also an entrepreneur. Heather, thanks for joining us today. I really appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
How the hell did you get into aesthetics? Let's just let's dive into that.
Yeah, so my story is kind of, I thought it was very unique, but then as I started doing a lot of trainings, I found that it was actually kind of common that a lot of people kind of got into this and tried to make it big during COVID. So what happened was I became a nurse back in like 2009, I think, and I worked at a hospital. I never really enjoyed the hospital. It never was for me. I felt like I wasn't good at it. And then I moved from upstate New York to Maryland and got married, had a baby, and I was like, I don't want to work these hospital hours anymore. I had previously worked part-time for a plastic surgeon, so I was taught how to do Botox and filler, but it was very, there was no like rhyme or reason to it. There was no art to it. Everyone was getting injected with just general Botox. That was all that was on the market when I started. Everyone got injected the same way. Everyone looked horrible, but I knew there was something to it. So I knew how to do it. I just didn't know that as a nurse practitioner, you could own your own business and stuff. So
was that
anyway,
the era where the duck face started? Is that what you're referring to? Maybe.
Probably. I mean, I feel like I call myself a dinosaur in this industry now because when it was kind of cool just to see the progression of everything. There's like 6 toxins FDA approved now. So I've seen the whole progression of everything. But yeah, everyone just got injected. Like there was no art to it. So it's gotten so much better in the industry, and it's been really cool to see the progression of it. But yeah, I moved here. I didn't want to work at the hospital anymore, and a couple of my neighbors, people I started to meet in this area, because I didn't know anyone in Maryland, were like, Heather, can you do my Botox? And I'm like, well, I can do it, but I don't know how to buy it. So I went down this rabbit hole of trying to figure out how to do it, and I had my first baby, and she was this horribly hard baby, and she would cry all night, and I never slept. And I remember one night, it was like 3:00 in the morning. I Googled how to start an LLC in Maryland, and I just picked Heather Zade LLC with no thought to it. And the next morning I woke up and I called Allergan, and I was like, hey, I have an LLC. I'm a nurse practitioner. Can I order Botox? And they were like, yeah, you can, but you need this, this, and this. So I said, okay. So I got myself an EIN, I got the business bank account, everything I needed. And I called Allergan back a couple weeks later and I said, okay, I have all this stuff that you asked me for. Can I buy Botox? And they were like, sure, sign this DocuSign, give us your credit card. And the next morning I had a vial of Botox on my front step at my home. And I was like, no way, that's it. So I called my neighbors and people that wanted me to do it, and I started doing Botox out of my house. And then word kind of caught on, and I was injecting people out of my home office. And then COVID hit.
How was that? Did you did you spice it up a little bit? Like, was it like decorated home office? Like, what did it look like?
It was I'm going to try to get you some pictures of it. It was a mess. I mean, I had a crying baby. I had a husky dog with hair flying all over the place, completely unsanitary. But I think what's interesting is that now when I do these trainings and, we have multiple practices, I still refer back to that time because those clients that saw me in my home are still clients today, paying double the amount they were paying in my home because they trust me. And I think that it's a big part of this industry is to develop a relationship with these patients and have them trust you. And, people can go get their Botox on any corner now. So I feel like if you develop a relationship and they feel like they trust you and they know you, they're not going to leave you. It's almost like being in a relationship with your clients. But I do think that's a big part of it. These people saw my real life. They saw that, I had a baby. I was trying to do things for myself. And, you built a different type of connection. And I can still rattle off all their names, these people that were in my house that still come to me every 3 months at the big office for their Botox. And it's been cool to kind of see that whole journey. But when COVID hit, all the med spas in Maryland had to shut down. So when they shut down, word kind of got around that I was still doing it out of my house, and it got really busy. And then one night I had one of my crazies knock on my door at like 3 a.m. demanding her lip filler because she had a date. And I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. I can't be giving out my address to all these people that I don't even know. So as soon as COVID was over, I rented a room at a shared office space, and then I grew the business from there. So for 3 years I was there, and I went from renting 1 room to 2 rooms to 3 rooms to 4 rooms. And then the owner of the building was like, you got to go. This is crazy. So that's when I did the build out. But I didn't do the build out until our books were completely full for 3 months. And I always had told myself, I'm not going to take out a loan. I'm going to do this all in cash. I'm not going to do anything if I can't afford it. I never wanted to be in the hole. So I was always very careful with that. And I paid for the full build out in cash. I said, I don't want to get in a hole. And I think that's a big mistake I see a lot of people make, is that they put millions into this crazy build out, but they don't have a client book. So it was when our new build out was ready, it was just sending an email and saying, you're now at this address. So it was just kind of shifting them over, and I knew we would be okay. So that's kind of how this all started. And I never expected it to happen. It blew up very unexpectedly, and I just kind of rode the wave, and I guess I still am, because it's still kind of this crazy journey that I'm on.
Well, I think you bring up a really good point, that you've had maybe somewhat uncomfortably too personal of relationships with your customers.
Yeah.
But it's okay, right? People buy from people they like, which is important. People buy from people they trust, and people buy from people that get them results. And in this situation, you were all three. So, tell me a little bit more about, because obviously we went pretty fast, and you're a 7-figure business owner now, which is beautiful, which also has its challenges in itself. We'll get into those in a little bit, but tell us a little bit more about like that growth. So you've built a really good book of business. I know you and I talked about you were obviously building, and not only in your community, then you started building on your social media. How did you go from like, hey, my book is packed, now I'm gonna add more stuff, or more more services, more staff? How did you continue leverage, different marketing channels as well to grow from that one room to having your own med spa? Because that's a big leap.
Yeah. So when I was in the shared office space, I was by myself, and I had a good friend of mine at the time was seeing me for her services, and she said, she's like, you're really good. I'll never forget this moment. And she was like, you're really good, but your social media is garbage. And I was like, yeah, I hate social media. I don't want to do it. I hate being on it. And she was like, can I do it for you? I want to run your social media. And I was like, sure. So we started exchanging services, where I would do her treatments and she would do some Instagram videos for me. And that's how the social media game kind of started. And then she had brought a friend of hers to me and said, my friend is a NICU nurse and she really wants to get into this, and can she come shadow you? And I was like, no, I don't want to deal with anyone here. And then she kept asking me. She asked me like 3 or 4 times. And finally, I think just to like make her stop asking, I was like, all right, fine, have her come in and shadow me. Her name was Lexi, and she came in and shadowed me. And we were leaving that day after the day was over, and she said, when are you back? And I was like, ugh. And then I told her when I was back, and she came back without asking. And then she kept coming back, and she started to help me. She was talking to clients. I didn't realize how much she was doing. She was cleaning up after me and, helping me with a lot of things that I didn't even realize she was doing. And then I remember the day very specifically. I was so busy and she wasn't there. And I left the shift and I got in my car and I called her and I was like, "Hey, I don't know how to do this, but do you want to work for me? I've never had an employee. I have no clue how to do this." And she was like, "Oh, finally." She was like, "Yeah, I would love to." And she worked for me, I think, for free for 6 months because I had no idea what I was doing. But she now manages our second location in Maryland. Her books are completely full and she is completely busy. So I trained her from the ground up and she's been like amazing this whole time. So that happened very unexpectedly. And then as she got busier with me, we realized we needed a front desk staff member. So our next step was to hire someone to sit at the front because we were realizing if we were both with the patient, our next patient was sitting in the waiting room. So then we hired a front desk person, and then people started asking for facials. So I hired an esthetician and I was like, I'll rent this room for you. You do all our patients' facials and microneedling and stuff that we don't want to do because we just want to do Botox and fillers. And then it just kind of one thing led to the next. And I was meeting nurses that wanted to work for us. And then I bought a laser and then we were doing laser treatments. And then it just kind of just kept going like that. And it just kept, it's nonstop. It's still going like that. So I think I just kind of was taking things as they were coming and hoping for the best. And I always had a really good outlook on things. I'm a very like laid back boss around here, maybe to a fault a little bit, but it's a really good working environment. We all like each other. We have fun. I think we're very blessed to be in this industry and be successful in it because it's a hard industry to get into. So, I built a really cool team that's around me and supportive. And I think, it just kind of all worked out, honestly.
All right. Well, I'm going to dissect the hell out of this because we're going pretty fast here, and I know we don't have a lot of time today because you're a busy lady. But okay, so social media. Obviously, how long did it take you to get traction with content? Because we know content is not easy. Most of the social media pages, in my opinion, are pretty ineffective at converting. They're maybe decent at getting attention. They're not good at converting into, they're not good at materializing into clients, right? Unless you actually have like a good fan base or following or stuff like that, right? That's why like fitness or like that's why influencers are, so big these days. Like they have to build up a, massive audience and continuously engage them with like really catchy content to be able to monetize it in some way. So how long did it take you to actually get traction with that? What kind of content did you post? My last guest, he owns a content agency in the medical space, so we're going through that. So this is very timely. So that would be my number one question. My number two question would be, you kind of said, oh, well, I was kind of just learning as I was going for a while. And so I didn't want to train somebody, but like, I think when you train somebody, you become better as well. But my second question would be, how did you grow in a sense to be able to, what did you do? How did you learn so you were able to actually grow and then train somebody else? I know those are two questions, but I just don't want to lose them because I feel like they're really important.
I think they kind of go together a little bit in my answer. So I think social media did help me. I would say more than 80% of our clients come from social media. When I started, I was posting really horrible before and afters with different lighting and just showing whatever I could show to show people that I could actually do this and do a good job. And I was getting some clients that came in and they were like, "Oh, I love the lips you posted." And it's funny looking back, I'm like, "Oh God, those were horrible pictures." But it worked. That did get people in. I did a couple crazy things that I think get a little frowned upon in the industry, but I took advantage of a lot of hair salons near me. One of the first things I did when I was trying to get patients was I reached out to every hair salon within like a 20-mile radius and emailed them and said, I want to do a Botox and filler party at your spa. I'll give the owner a free treatment if you can send an email blast to all your clients. And what I found was women that pay to sit and get their hair done, a large percentage of them probably also care what their face looks like. So I was getting a bunch of clients from these salons, and it was the owner was happy to do it because she was getting a free treatment, saving thousands of dollars on her treatment, and giving me all of her clients. Her hair clients, would then come to me. And I would use their esthetician room for like 3-4 hours. And then my goal when I was there was to pre-book them out. So I would say, okay, you had this great treatment. I'm giving you a cheaper tox, $10 a unit. Normally it's 14. If you pre-book out with me and come to see me, I'll give you $50 off your next session for pre-booking today. So I started to grow my book out months down the road. And that was, I think, the smartest thing I did, was try to get out there, network, meet people, meet these other, salon owners, people that knew a big group of people was really helpful. And then at the same time, I ended up getting an actual social media manager who's still with me today. She's been with me for like 5 years. So paying her was the only type of paid marketing I had done at that point. And she would come in once a week, and she still does, and she takes a bunch of content, so pictures, videos, and then she blasts them for a week, and then she comes back in the following week and takes new content. So I don't have to post anything on my social media. I don't have time for that. I always say, now that I'm busy, do what you're good at and hire out the rest. There's no reason I should be spending time making a reel for Instagram when I could be injecting someone and making more money doing that. So it was all kind of like a learning process, but I think social media was huge for me because it worked. And for some reason, people did follow our page, and I was getting a lot of clients that way. And then it kind of turned into word of mouth. So I hope that answered your question. But that's how I started with the marketing around my town.
If you had to give any advice for creating content, like how much time would you allow to because you were doing it for a while though before it was really started paying off, right? It doesn't like you don't throw a bunch of reels together and it's like, oh, how people know me.
Yeah, I think my biggest advice for people trying to make it in this industry is really to just get out there, especially in your own community. We went to the Dry Bar. We went to, workout businesses, and we would give free B12 shots just to get the name out there. And everywhere I would go for any type of event, I would meet someone that would introduce me to someone else, and, or want a treatment, or know someone that wants a treatment. And I spent so much time with any of the free time I had in the beginning trying to do stuff like that. And I tell my new injectors now also, if they have an hour break or they have a client cancel, they should be creating some sort of content to push out there on social media. People really do. They don't even use Google as much anymore. People are going on social media and they're Googling, they're searching on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook, like Botox near me. So I think you just have to keep going, keep working at it. If you have, if they have any downtime, they should be doing something to try to get themselves out there, get a new client in the door. We did that, and we would offer, discounts until someone's book was full. And then once the book was full, there's no more discounts. So there was different kind of strategies like that I used, that I still use for new staff that comes in.
How were you able to learn different? What were some of your best resources or people that you surrounded yourself with? I know you said you networked quite a bit, but you did a quantum leap from kind of just figuring things out to being able to actually train staff and then ultimately train other practitioners. So we laughed a little bit around. You said, "Hey, I'm not training this person." You figured it out, and honestly, that's kind of the way to do it. But I kind of want to understand the things you leverage to go through that quantum leap and that fast growth. Mostly, internally, professionally, were you able to say, I'm going to become a better injector, as well as a better a trainer slash educator?
Yeah, there was honestly no like magic moment for me. I think what what took my career to this huge level was that when I started, I had so many clients that wanted lip filler. Like even if they came for Botox, everyone wanted lip filler. And at the time, everyone was doing this technique where they were doing like 30, 40 pokes in a lip, and the client was bleeding all over the place and they were in pain. And I said, there's got to be an easier way to do this. And so I developed a way to do it in 3 to 7 pokes instead of 30 to 40. And then the lip results were getting really good. So I had companies then reaching out to me that made the filler, and they wanted me to train people in different territories. So the lip technique, I think, creating something that was different that made lip injections easier for providers, quicker, so the patient was less, in pain. It was more comfortable, and creating like really good results consistently, I think took things way to a different level because I started training for companies, and I was training all over the country. Now I'm training in, different parts of the world. And that immediately proves to people, even locally, that you know what you're doing and they trust you to come to you. So I think the lip technique is what pushed everything into a bigger direction because everything was very normal and, what I think was normal. And then when I started doing these big trainings and speaking on podiums and stuff, that's when things kind of really took off. Um, so I feel like that's the only actual moment that I can think that kind of shifted things was the lip technique.
Hmm. Nice. Yeah, that's your signature thing.
Hmm.
Um, so let's talk about sales.
Yeah.
I'm a big. I'm more of a. I used to be a marketing advocate first. I think I'm more of a sales advocate first, more than anything.
Hmm.
I've I've probably closed like I don't know 800 deals in the last 5 years, which is I think a lot. Um, and I think marketing without sales is obviously very disjointed.
Hmm.
So how did you learn how to sell? Because in aesthetics and medical, I think people are really waking up to this fact that you now have to sell because um, if you realize the fundamentals, which we talked about, that people buy from people they like, people buy from people they trust, people buy from people who get them results.
Hmm.
But like the providers also have to take ownership and accountability for influencing their patients to go with them and make these decisions, right? It's not just like, yeah, I think you should do this without having to actually doing homework or a consultation or whatever it is, right? Like sales, it's a there's a methodology to it, right? There's everybody does things a little bit differently, but there's processes. Like I coach a lot on sales nowadays because I realize like it doesn't matter how many new patients you get in your practice. It matters how many patients stay, right?
Yeah.
So,
For sure. Yeah.
how did you learn? I think it probably started when you were at your house, obviously, but and building these relationships because sales is about building relationships in some ways. But how did you learn how to sell? Because you've built a massive book of business, which means you were able to influence people to buy.
Hmm.
Um, so let's talk about that.
Yeah, I was always very grossed out by salespeople. So when I when I started, I never wanted
And then
to.
you became one.
That I became a salesperson. Yeah, and it's funny because as an injector, you're not just an injector. You are selling things, and if you want to scale and grow, you do have to really kind of master the sales part of it. I think, when I started, I definitely wasn't pushy at all. I was really trying to just give people good results and build trust. And I think I was so happy that I didn't have to go to the hospital anymore to make money, that I really did enjoy it. And I also was, stuck home with babies, and I couldn't wait to talk to adults and have like an adult conversation, that I genuinely cared what these people were doing and what was going on in their life. And we would sit and have conversations and build, connections. And I think that helped build, that was kind of an organic build. But then as things got going and I saw the money start to come in, and see what could happen in this industry, I became quite obsessed, I would say, with business. And I never, in nurse practitioner, nursing school, you don't get a single day of business. So I bought books and books on business. There was one book called like The Great Game of Business that I really liked. There was one called Peak that I really liked. And I was trying to figure out, how really successful people did this, and did it well. And I took kind of little tips from different people that, I could say made it in sales, and started to try to make my own ways to do it. And I think, it's definitely in this industry, people don't want to feel like they're pushed into something. No one wants to come in and be like, oh, she's trying to push me on like 10 syringes of filler. I think the way to do sales that worked for us is that we were never selling syringes. You're selling an outcome. So as soon as you shift to that mindset, the sales start to go up. So if someone comes in and I've never seen them before, the consultation is so important. I feel like the consultation's an art in itself. You have to connect with the person if you want them to stay with you for a lifetime. I think there was a recent study done that said that one lifelong customer in an aesthetics industry on average brings in like $50,000 to $70,000 in their lifetime if they stay with you the whole time. So like you said, it's so important to build this lifelong client. You don't want someone that's coming in chasing a deal. You want someone that's going to come in and stay with you and trust you. So anyway, so we do.
Can I stop you right there?
Yeah.
I think everybody's chasing a deal these days. But it's up to and I say it as a marketer, right? Like marketers take advantage of, in some ways, ethically take advantage of what the society is demanding.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think that regardless of whether they're chasing a deal or not, I think what you hit the nail on the head was, like, the consultation still has to be an art, because maybe they're coming in there because they saw the deal, but like they still have that pain point. Like they still maybe want better lips, or they still want to fix something with their face, or whatever it is, right? Or their chin or the neck. Like they have pain points. So like it's our responsibility as providers also to turn them away from just purely looking at this as a financial transaction.
Yep.
And really talk about the value and talk about solving their pain point, and shift the conversation over right away quickly to the transformation and, like you said, the outcome-based selling. So
it's so different because people can go anywhere and get Botox. There's 15 med spas within walking distance from us, I feel like. And the goal is, once they come in, you're saying, okay, this is what I want to do. This is their goal. And how can we achieve this over the next year or two for them? So we actually set up a full year or 2-year plan. And then you're kind of locking them in, because you can't do everything at once. If you want to make this transformation, they're going to be doing filler and Botox. They're going to be doing lasers, skincare. So you can show them before and afters of people that have stuck with this. And, this is their transformation over 2 years. This is what, we can do for you if you trust us and stick with us. But yeah, I do think a lot of people do come in on the deals. I've had some patients come in when we offered a discount day, and they were like, I've always wanted to do this, and I saw the discount and I felt like it was a sign. And so people kind of look for that, and then they're like, oh, I've been wanting to get my lips done, or I wanted to try Botox and it's discounted. Maybe this is my sign to start it. And then it is once they come in, if they have a bad experience, they're going to look elsewhere. But if they have a really good experience, hopefully you have someone that's going to, you know, keep coming back and be a lifelong client for your business.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. I like that. This is your sign. I want
Yeah.
to do an ad like that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna, that's good. This is your sign to get your lips done.
Hmm. This
I
is the
like
sign
that.
you've been waiting for.
I like that. Let's go. Let's do that on your account. See what happens. Um, no, I like those slogans. No, that's really good. No, because like, here's the thing. I love like targeted ads. Obviously, I'm biased because I'm a marketer, but like, I love targeted ads. Like, I know people. We're just bombarded by so much shit these days, but like, I like targeted ads because they curate like a little bit of a better buying experience for me. You know,
Yeah.
because it's like all the things that I like. You know, so. And
Mhm.
I think that people, like you said, like they hesitate, but maybe they're like, this is their push.
Mhm.
And rightfully so, if they find a provider that they vibe with and have a good relationship with,
Mhm.
right? You know,
Yeah.
people want to feel like in today's world, people want to feel warmth in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Because we're an ultra digital world and people want to feel that human connection and warmth, in my opinion. So it's like, if you have a good relationship with somebody, a lot of times too, like you're getting results, but you're like, you go there because you want to see that person, you
Yeah.
know? And it
Mhm.
becomes kind of like I want to call it in quotation marks, but like a human ritual where you go and you're like, sit down and you have an experience with another human being, you know, and they help you, you know, look and feel beautiful and all that stuff. So I think it's pretty cool. And I think that's what makes that sales experience a lot less, like you said in the beginning.
Yeah, it's gross. No one wants to feel like they're trying to be sold to. Like everyone hates going to a car dealership, and you know, you don't want to give them a bad experience when they walk in, and you know, you want to sell the outcome, not the syringe. I think that's huge.
Uh, so, what would you say, like, obviously, you know, as far as like some of the key things, or let's talk about actually multi-location stuff. Like, when did you open your second location? Because like I feel like a lot of times people like make a little bit of money and they're like, oh, I need a second location, I need a third, and their attention and energy gets split, and then they're like, oh, I'm in budgetary issues. So, when did you
So
decide to do that?
for so the build out we did in our Clarksville, Maryland location, I would say this is like our flagship. So we started here with the build out was one, two, three, four, five treatment rooms. Um, there was a waiting room, a front desk, and you know, two bathrooms. And we were here for about 3 months, and every room was full. Every provider was full for about 3 to 4 months booked out. So I said, okay,
So it was capacity issues, a lot of it, right?
it was. I got lucky in the sense that my location's very close to home, so it's convenient for me. And the retail spot next to us was open, and they were trying to rent it out. So I called the landlord and I said, I knew I either had to do a second location if I wanted to keep building and growing or expand this one. So I called and I said, can I knock down the wall and take the second space next to us? And they waited a while and they said, you can do it. So they gave us, so I'm basically renting two spaces to make this one location. So I'm paying two rents over here, but we knocked part of the wall down in the front and the back, so it's like a circle. And then we added four more treatment rooms, and then we had the back turned into a big conference room that we do our trainings in, and a lounge. So we expanded 3 months later, um, and now it's kind of like huge here. And then it was again kind of a capacity issue. We probably could have kept just the one location, but we had so many clients coming from another part of town. We did a market analysis and figured out kind of where the need was. And I had providers that wanted to work more towards that direction too. And I had a provider that also wanted to be more managerial, kind of manage a spot. So I said, well, if we do this, you can manage this location and move to that location full time. So that's what we did. Um, and we did that build out. That finished just this past August. So we've only been open there for about, I think, 6 weeks now. So we've got 3 providers over there, 2 estheticians, 1 MA, 1 front desk. So that's going well. And I wanted it to be a smaller location, and it ended up being another, like, I think there's 7 treatment rooms over there too. But it just kind of it was the right place, the right price. So it's another big location. But it's fine. It kind of needed to happen with what we were doing. So we have 2 locations in Maryland, and that's good for now. There might be a third one coming, but we'll see. But I would say, I mean, the biggest advice that I've gotten in the past and that I would give to anyone is do not do it until books are like good. Like, you don't want to open a location and not have clients. So
Books are good, you're profitable,
yeah.
and you also feel like you will have some sort of a capacity to being able to manage that expansion, right? I
Yeah.
think that's big, right? Like, I opened my 3 boutique locations. I don't have big staff, but it was a lot. It was a lot. But it was at a time when I was like, okay, I can take on more stuff. I was
Mhm.
financially very stable. I had the money to invest.
Yeah.
I had a process in place. I had my agency that was going to get me clients. So, like, I was prepping. And sometimes I feel like people are just like, oh, I just want another location.
Yeah. No,
You
that's
have to ask yourself why you want another location, I think, is a big question, right? Like,
really,
in your case, you kind of just, you had to.
yeah.
And you were in a good spot. You were in a good spot to do that. Aside from that, like, obviously, you have your academy as well. So, let's just kind of plug that in and just tell us, just a high level summary of like what you do, how you do it,
Yeah.
why you do it.
Yeah. So it all kind of goes back to when I started in the industry, and there were that I knew of at the time, there was no places that you could go that you could train at, learn what you were doing, and then continue to learn there or have contacts there. So there's all these like weekend certification courses, but there's nothing that gives you like a network. So what we created was um, we got it accredited. We offer CMEs for all our courses, which is nice. But we have a full training academy. So we do the certification course, which gives someone the certificate that they learned it, they got hands on, and they can go do it on their own. Then we do an intermediate and advanced course so they can keep taking these courses to keep moving up as they get good. And then I think the coolest part is that we have a forum. So anyone that takes the course gets access to this forum, which I'm on, my other lead educator is on, and all the students are on it that took courses here. So people message like issues they're having with clients or questions they have, and they get all these people responding, including me and my lead educator, to help them. So it's not like they come in, take the course, and they're on your own, good luck. They can reach out anytime and have help and someone to kind of like, give them advice. And then it just kind of needed to happen because so many people were trying to come in to do private trainings that I couldn't do it anymore. So I didn't have time. So I said, I'll do my lip class once a month instead of trying to do these private trainings once a week. So I do just 6 students so that everyone can get enough hands-on, and I do my lip class once a month. I do a business class on how I did this and grew this, and I show people how to do the legal forms and the consent forms and all that stuff. We do a biostim course. So we have kind of something for everyone, but I truly think the coolest part is the networking that kind of comes with it.
Yeah, community's huge these days.
Yeah. You've got people you can reach out to if you have a question. I have a text thread with 5 injectors and myself that are in all different states that we've met through different conferences and like speaking engagements, and we'll message each other if we have any type of issue. And it's just so cool to have that like other advice of people doing the same thing on what they think it is. You think this is an emergency? What should I do with this? And you got to have like your little group of people you trust. And when you're just starting out, you're not going to have that. So it's nice to be able to provide that and give someone a little extra comfort when they're starting.
Just a couple questions right off the bat, totally irrelevant. If you've seen this show, I throw them at people. What is your favorite luxury brand? Right off the bat.
That people are gonna hate me for this.
People are gonna hate you regardless, Heather. Let's go. They're gonna love you too.
I'm a Chanel girl.
Okay. No, you got some haters now.
Okay.
And then what is your favorite toxic trait, or I'm sorry, what is your biggest toxic trait about yourself?
Oh, I can't say no to anyone, so I'll like say yes to things that I don't want to like please people. I do that all the
People,
time.
please.
Hmm.
As we wrap this up, I think we got to we have to I think do another episode because there's so much more to talk about. But let's wrap this up for today. Where can people find you if they want to network with you? I know, like you said, we talked about your brand, your MedSpa brand. We talked about your academy where you're working with other entrepreneurs to educate them, help them out, not only with technique and client fulfillment, but also with growing their businesses as well. So where can people find you? Throw on some credits for us.
The easiest way is just on Instagram. My @ is Injector Heather Zade, and then we have a trainings email, so it's trainings@adoraestheticsmd.com. And you can email that, and we can give you the list of all our trainings. And it's also on our website, which is adoraestheticsmd.com. We have the whole list of training dates on there. But people can DM me. I do look at my DMs. I do respond to them myself. I have people posting for me, but I do look at my own messages and respond to them. It might take me a few days, but I will eventually respond to people. So I'm very approachable, and people can reach out whenever they want.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, Heather Zade.
Thank you so much, Neil.